Welcome back to Tuesday Night Live with Marticus. Tonight, my very great pleasure for the first time on Flat Earth British History, is to have Stellium7, who is my friend, good friend Mike. You haven't got your picture up. There you are. My good friend Mike, who has come to educate us. So good to see you, Mike. It's been a couple of weeks since we've actually danced on the dance floor or anything cool like that, being groovy people. But yeah, so yeah, much love to you. You're an awesome truther, and it's a great pleasure to have you here on my channel. Thank you for giving us the time. Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, we crossed paths a couple times in streams, like a New Year's stream some years back, and
yeah,
this is the first time I've been on your channel. So fun.
Yeah, well, I just need to catch up with myself most of the time. I never know what country I'm waking up in. Never mind what's going on with the internet. So yeah, this debate, well, it's not a debate, but this conversation is sort of got a lot of interest in the chat. A lot of people have got their opinions on what we're going to talk about now, which is big trees versus meltology. And the claim is a lot of sites that are tree are being misinterpreted as meltology. Is this term over-applied? Well, I'm actually really intrigued to find out more about this. I'm really excited, in fact. So just say one more thing before you get underway. I've been reading Mike's book. If you don't know it, right, get onto his channel and get this book. I've just been reading about his New York antics. It's like the movie, The Hacker, only better. I'm surprised he didn't make a movie.
Then, right?
I'm surprised he didn't make a movie. It would have been brilliant.
Yeah, I need to write a screenplay first and then try and sell it. Maybe someday it'll be a movie. Everyone who's read it has said it should be, so
that shouldn't be difficult to turn a transcript into a screenplay, surely. You just have to have character dialogue. That's more character dialogue, and there is some in there anyway. So
yeah, it's all formatting and stuff, but I'm sure there's probably AI tools that'll
do anything now for you. So yeah, Mike, what you saying? Because I posted and talked about this. You were the inspiration for my post last Saturday concerning. I showed some examples of trees and stuff. You must have been thinking, "What's going on here? Then what is he showing?" So I want to be educated. I don't know.
Well, you know, initially when people started coming out with the meltology stuff, the first guy was a guy named Jerry DeCamp, and
yeah, sure, I know Jerry.
Actually,
the great densification.
In Denver, unfortunately. Not a fan of the guy.
No, he trolled me a bit.
And my first exposure to his theories was him coming out in a stream and just, you know, shredding on the work that I'd been doing. I did a series called Unveiling a Titan, where I was investigating a mountain here in Spain and just toying with the idea that, you know, what if this is a Titan? Because it sure looks like one, and there's a lot of anatomical features. So I dove deep into that just as an intellectual exercise, and the more I looked, the more I found. And so he did this 15-minute stream where I swear he was on meth or something. He wasn't even coherent, and he was just like scribbling about on the screen and saying this is retarded and this is clearly a melted building. And I'm just like, okay, he didn't even review any of the stuff that I presented. He was just pulling up the stuff on the screen and making claims about it. And so initially I just, you know, dismissed the whole meltology thing, because first of all, if you got melted rock, there's going to be vitrification. There's you know, glassification for people who don't know what that is. Like you can take a giant magnifying glass called a Fresnel's lens, and you can put a rock under that thing, and it'll start melting the rock within seconds. And then when that cools down, it's smooth and it's glass. And I'm like, you know, these people are talking about melt, but there's no sign of melt. There's what looks like drippage and stuff, but you know, there's a lot that exists in the biological realm that can do the same thing. So I just was like, these people are nuts. And one of the big problem I have with it, and I'm just so people out there know, I'm not, the thumbnail says, you know, big trees versus meltology. This is not an attempt to debunk meltology at all, because I'm actually on board with the theory. I've seen a lot of pretty compelling sites now that I think are definitely, you know, the shit hit the fan and something happened. And but there are a lot of sites that people are claiming have been like, people are just carving into solid stone, and you know, they're creating these locations, and then it got melted, or they were once buildings and then were melted. And I think that may be true in some locations, but they're vastly over applying the theory. And none of the meltology people that I've encountered are actually examining the evidence in favor of the big trees. So there's obviously Devil's Tower, the stumps, you know, the flat topped mountains, but there's a whole slew of other data points and things that can be looked at that also match up and dovetail perfectly with the theory. And so they're not looking at that stuff. And then when they do come across those sites, they're just finding ways to make that work into their meltology theory. And so I think that the problem is that it's just being way over applied, and it's almost like a religion for a lot of these people. You know, it's like talking with somebody who's just off the deep end with whatever their religious belief is. So I wouldn't mind talking to somebody who's a little more level-headed and open-minded and has examined some of these sites and explain why it couldn't possibly be true. So we can touch on all kinds of different things. And
well, for me, I'm on board with meltology, but I have difficulty.
You know, the guy in the chat, he's probably one of these people I'm talking about, because he's not open-minded to the tree thing at all. There's a mountain of evidence.
Yeah. It's not my way or the highway here. This is like a critical thinking, open-minded, thinking outside I'm open place
to meltology, so that's not.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like,
I have trouble with the
Himalayas.
The Himalayas is just way too. It's like, what is it, 100,000 square miles?
You mean as a melted building? Yeah, I mean the idea that all mountains on Earth were once buildings. Like, okay, well, where did all the materials come from for the buildings? Why is there no sign of building there? There's a lot, places like Bryce Canyon in Utah. They're calling, like, these are ancient structures, and I'll show some images later that I think that's, we're looking at sandstone, and sandstone is former tree.
Okay. Your volume just dropped off.
It did.
Oh, it's back now.
Okay.
There you are.
It's back. All right. Well, I'm going to get this thing closer. It might be the mic, because I've changed the cable and I've turned off the auto. All right. Let me know how it goes. The problem, I have a mic on here, but it
sounds fine now. No, you're absolutely fine now. Okay. Just stop for a second. Yeah. So what about melted bricks then?
I've seen a lot of examples of them. I've got some images that are pretty wild, like ceilings of bricks, and it's just melting down like fluid. So yeah.
I've seen them with my own eyes as well in Colchester. The Boadicea line, they call it, from where Boudicca burnt the city. So apparently Roman.
So you want to do you have some, like, really? I've got a
I could share. Let's get this kicking
but maybe
off.
you could just show some things and we can just start.
Yeah, sure. That'd be a great idea. That would. So yeah, thanks everybody for being here this week, and let's stay groovy in in the chat feed. Wow, it's so.
And hi to everyone in the chat from my channel. I've been gone for quite a while. I've been a digital hermit, but I've been out there in the world. I've done a number of presentations since the last time that I did a stream, and I've typically done recaps of each of those, but they were kind of back to back, and I haven't. But have since I streamed last, I've been in, I think, Ireland, England, Scotland, Mexico, and Missouri for events. So it's been a fun year.
So what do you think? Tree trunk?
Perhaps I would have to get close to see the stone underneath the castle, but I wouldn't assume that the castle was much larger and that everything below is former castle. I would think that they built the castle on top of that structure, whatever it once was.
Oh no, I'd agree with that. That's always the case, isn't it? It's out of the way of the floodwater when it comes. So this is interesting. This is in Western Ireland, something called the monastery, where they actually state that this was a building. Okay, this was a monastery. And then when you read into it, it says, oh, it got obliterated by the Atlantic winds that are there, and just, you know, erosion. But you can still see, you know, pretty much it looks a little bit straight there. You can see some sort of form, but yeah, completely obliterated. But they do state that it was a monastery. So some of these places could well have been, you know, so melted brick.
Really melted. Now, I just to make a point here. So a lot of the sandstone that I'll show images of later has perfectly fine alternating grain, where it's going from red to white to red to white, and it's swirling, right?
Yeah, I've seen that. I got a picture of that shortly. Yeah.
So there's no that is clearly melted brick, but there's no the flow of the grain is not preserved in any way. So when that melt starts to happen, it loses that micro layering. Yeah, so that structure to me was built inside what
for sure. But what about the folding of the land in such a nature? What will cause that? I know what they say in geological terms.
I'll show a bunch of examples also of like fresh wood, you know, different kinds of trees. And when you look at the knots of trees, you get these curves and these swirls. The knots can be shaped like this as well, right? And so there's a lot of people that see these different structures and start talking about petrified genitalia. But that's such a reach. The Occam's razor. If the big trees were a thing, it makes way more sense that those sites that look like genitalia are actually the knots of the trees that have petrified.
Well, how high would they have to go, the trees? Because obviously it gets like, you know, decidedly cold the further up you get. You know, 35,000 feet is 50 below outside. So how high would they be?
I don't know. And how wide were they as well is a question.
They can't be too many miles
because
high.
you can do the math on the ratios of a tree, and you can go, okay, if the tree is got a trunk that's 2 feet wide, it's going to extend X amount of feet up into the sky. So if something is 2 miles wide, how many miles into the sky is going to go? And if it's 50 or 100 miles, well, people talk about the firmament being at 60 miles, you know, it's one theory. If there even is a firmament, if it's a physical barrier, we might be inside of a Russian doll, you know, like where there's concentric spheres, and maybe the current barrier, if there is one, wasn't previously there. Maybe we're being downsized. Maybe the realm is fractal and holographic, and you know, it's like things get smaller and smaller. Like even in the mainstream geological narrative, they talk about a time when the atmosphere had a higher density of CO2 and oxygen, and everything grew very large. They talk about giant reptiles and the vapor canopy days, right? The Avatar days, where everything was gigantic. So these are all things that we can't really know the answers of, you know.
Yeah, so things being petrified rapidly. I have witnessed these trees in New Mexico and Arizona that were just like glass and haven't even been there that long. But I think antiquity definitely does it as well. This looks like one of these things you get in a...
how long does look... That does look like it was a structure. I mean, I can't imagine dripping and accumulation of minerals creating a structure like that. And
I don't think stalagmites and stalactites take that long to produce, because I used to collect them from a local motorway bridge, and they were there like every year, a new stalagmite. I was like, oh, snap that off with the saltpeter. But yeah, crazy. What about this
Yeah, so
blob? Excuse me.
this
Sorry.
blob, I would call this biogeology. To say
Yeah.
what it is, I don't know, but I think that that was originally biological. The color is one of the reasons. The fact that the outer layer is a completely different color than the inner layer. You can see that there's layering there. So there are trees that look like that on the inside. You know, there's the dragon tree that has red sap, and there's another tree that I have a photo of that's the whole inner core is exactly that color.
Yeah. I've posted that bleeding tree that gives off just like blood out of the trunk. I've posted about it, but obviously this is high in iron, so, you know, because it's so red. But you know, you could interpret
and
it.
So my question then, you know, there are some who would say, no, this was formerly a building, and I'm like, well, what sign is there that that was formerly building? If they believe that, like, there's no doors, there's no windows, there's no nothing to suggest structure.
Not in that case. Definitely not. It looks quite organic, if you ask me, the thing. But you get these things where they build them later. I've seen loads of examples of this in Czech Republic. Krumlov Castle was the same castle, just put on top of one of these prominents, which are just these boulders that are all over the place. So I don't know what to think about them. They do look melted.
Yeah, when I've listened to videos from people covering this from the meltology perspective, they're talking about all kinds of different things like ballooning of the rocks and so a lot of times when I've seen close-ups of these areas where you'll see brick and then you see another kind of brick and another, you know, and they're claiming that these are like different stages of melt, but to me that's probably a structure that they adapted the, you know, the upper structure into.
But how would they geology explain one of these geological formations? It's obviously not glacial, is it? Bobbling like that. I wonder what you know, in their official narrative, what circumstances make these things. It's just never get it.
Not sure.
Well, this obviously that's probably a later temple, is it, than the overlap? Can you see that?
Yeah, this reminds me of, like, what is that? The Kalisa temple or something? The one that's like, we were talking about that the other day, that's just carved out of one gigantic block. And, you know, my theories on this stuff is a lot of times it's sandstone. Like if you look at Petra exhibits tree in every way. Even when you look at it from above, like on Google Earth, we could do that later. When you look at it from above, you can see the structure of tree. And then when you get down at the structure and inside the rooms, all of the swirl and the micro layering of the grain is all there for tree. Really? So my theory about the sandstone is that it was formerly tree, and they were able to carve into it because, you know, with the primitive, say the Bronze Age tools, they were able to, they wouldn't be able to hack into like granite and these kinds of things with the kinds of tool. I saw a video about that the other day that was, you know, they were looking at, well, you'd have to have somebody there sharpening the tools all the time because they would go blunt quickly. And, you know, it was, but, ridiculous. You know, whether there's melt also, because Shepu's there saying it looks like melt to him. Yeah, I mean, it looks, you've got the flow, but the flow could also be mineral deposits from rain runoff and stuff like that. But you can see when you look at the other structures, and maybe if you had higher resolution, you might be able to see that there's grain in there. So my take on the sandstone is that it was formerly tree. They carved into it with primitive tools, or maybe not so primitive tools, like in the case of that temple we were just talking about. Yeah. And then, you know, whether it was the flood or some kind of a plasma event or something that caused the petrification, that's, you know, and then that starts to also wear. So the petrification could have come before and the flood could have come after, causing erosion. I've got sites that look like that, where you've got both what looks like water erosion and melt at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think so too. And I know that isn't Petra, but I got examples of these where they're just in the side of, you know, inside of cliffs, where you see these, you know, these weird mountains, and it really does. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I look at that stuff and I shake my head and I go, what the heck happened? I wouldn't claim that's tree because I don't see anything that reminds me of tree.
yeah, interesting. These bits here look like the bits you get in Puma Punko on them stones. Yeah, it's a world away. You know, they're doing the same
carving
architecture.
carving structures to nowhere.
Yeah. Well, that's it, but not really. If they had foreknowledge of Armageddon, yeah, then they would, you know, get up out of the way on the high ground into the cliffs or something, especially if it was a plasma event and that, you know, when it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and they just, where would you go? Cave or underground? And if there was like some sort of what they call a CME or some sort of plasma event, scorching the earth, or even um, what they call the ozone, but setting it alight, setting this place alight. So what about that then? This is an interesting one. Now, I've seen you mentioned Paul Cook to me earlier. He went to Nottingham to the caves in England. I've been there myself. They are absolutely mind-blowing, but a lot of them have got this sort of brickwork incorporated where people have actually been living in there, and tramps even in the modern day. But I don't
Yeah.
know what to make of them, really.
Yeah, I'm also on board with the geopolymer thing, very
Yeah.
much so. I think that that's a very, very important part of what's going on all across the realm. In fact, I think that's probably how they did things like the pyramids and these megalithic structures. It makes a lot more sense that they you know created molds and poured into them rather than carving these massive stones and then having to move them and place them.
Yeah, of course.
So when I look at this, I'm seeing like the central portion there has a bit of, you know, what looks like that sandstone grain. The other stuff looks like it got hit by fire.
Yeah.
and the brick looks like it was added after.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. But yeah, it looks like it's taken a lot of heat, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of the structures around the UK, these sandstone dwellings, like in Kinver and a lot of the places that you know Nicky B and Paul Cook were exploring together. Those structures, I you know I had a whole folder with loads of screenshots from different, you know, sites, and it continually exhibits the, you know, the features of tree, the grain. And there,
Yeah.
like, there's one photo, and I searched almost an hour for it today. I couldn't find it, but so you've got rooms being carved into these structures, and he was positing, you know, that he was invoking these giant 3D printers. And I'm like, okay, that's a stretch. Take a look at the tree information because it looks very much like tree. There's a lot to suggest that it is, and he wouldn't have it. And you know, I was a supporter of his work. I was even a patron of his on his channel, and then we had a huge falling out, and he started slandering me, and it got ugly. And so I actually made a video called Biogeology, Geopolymers, and Lies, because I had to defend myself because he was making a whole bunch of claims about me that weren't true, and I had the receipts, so people can watch that and decide for themselves who's being honest and who isn't. But these sites, you know, if you carved into them, one of the things about the sandstone is it's very soft in these locations. So you can see the micro layering, but if you go up to the wall and you rub the wall, the layering goes away.
Yeah.
Right. So there are sites that he was showing where there's all kinds of different channels that have been carved in for what looks like, you know, maybe plumbing or electrical or something. So they're not just carving the rooms, but they're all, it looks like everything is there set up for something more. But what I realized when I was looking at that is those things had to have been carved before it was sandstone, because if it had been sandstone, all of the micro layering wouldn't be there. So he had this one room that he showed an image of, and there was a narrow, like, rectangular channel that was carved down through the wall, and you could see that the layering was going over, in, over, out, and over, like so, and it was all perfectly preserved. But if you got up there and rubbed with your hands, that layering would be gone. So to me, that suggests that carving first, petrification later. and then
I think so.
breakdown and erosion.
Well, with this temple here, I would, okay, they carved in the sandstone temple entrance there. But if you look at this messed up bit on the bottom, there's a window with an arch over it. So I think that this was a building at some stage, even before this bit.
Yeah.
You see, down there.
Yeah, and I think that's also happening as well. That the buildings are melting. So, kudos to the Meltology people for figuring it out and spotting it. And I think it's an important data point. And so anyone who thinks that I'm like all tree, I'm not. It's a bit of tree. It's a bit of Titan. It's a bit of Meltology. This is what I'm doing. I have a slide. I have a slide in my presentations. It's like, the eyes are useless if the mind is blind. And I think that the answer is E, all of the above, right? There's some of all of it. And we need to be cautious about our claims and understand that maybe it's way more complex than we thought. Like, for example, with the trees. If the trees came down and were felled, which the ancient legends and religious texts talk about, then how long did they lay before the flood came? And was it the flood that petrified them, or was it some kind of a plasma apocalypse? I want to get back to that photo in a second. But so, and then as they're laying, are they in a state of decay? Are they starting to break down? Like if you look at a tree in the forest that's fallen and is starting to break down, it becomes the forest floor, and it's just like a sandy structure, and so then you've got fungal impact as well, the mycelium and fungus. You've got termites. You have bacteria. You have all these different things and it can be in different stages of breakdown, and then depending on how it's undergone petrification is going to result in a different outcome, whether it's through plasma, through high heat like volcanic activity. You're talking about, they say that the pyroclastic flows can be up to 1,500 degrees Celsius and move at the speed of sound. Mm-hmm. So that's a powerful force, right? Then you've got high mineral content waters, right? Mother Shipton's cave is a perfect example where they go and hang things, and within time they're petrified.
Yeah.
And before you were talking about the stalactites, I showed a video clip in my presentations from another guy who's looking at piping structures in cities where they cut cross sections of the pipes, and they're showing in like 50 to 70 years, they're getting this massive accumulation of the exact same material that they're claiming is forming the stalactites, right? This mineral deposit. Yeah. And then they tell us in the mainstream that it's 50 to 100 years per centimeter. Absolute BS. And that video completely debunks it. There's a lot of things like, when it comes to sedimentary layering and how things take that have been debunked by geology itself, not just, people like us who are asking, uncomfortable questions, but like Mount St. Helens erupted, it deposited 30 feet or more of sedimentary layering with microlamination in a matter of hours. So the whole sedimentary layering becoming metamorphic rock, becoming lava, that whole mainstream petrogenesis model, while it also may happen, is not an explanation for a lot of the sites that we see. And as far as those bricks go, it looks like it could have expanded. I'm looking at the picture now. What were you saying? Sorry.
Well, with Mount St. Helens, also there was a canyon, like a small Grand Canyon, that opened in an instant. It didn't take, umpteen millions of years to be carved out by the Colorado River. I mean, this thing happened in an instant. Right. So
yeah, and also the trees that were covered by the mud and the lahars, these flows of the mud combined with the ash combined with the water. Those trees are already petrified. So our timelines of how long it takes for petrification to take place are completely false as well.
They're giving I feel if there was a plasma event, then there would be the biggest forest fire you could ever imagine. They would be like literally incinerated, and all would be left is stumps. This is I took this photo. This is the Harlock Stone in Nottingham, on one of the hills in Nottingham. I took it. It's just a crazy rock in the middle of a field. And
so I would, based on what I've studied, I would say that's a small piece of what was once a very large tree that has been hit by fire. Because what happens to tree when it burns? It turns to coal, right?
Yeah.
If it gets really, really hot, it turns to obsidian. You get the vitrification. Like anyone who doubts that can look up rainbow obsidian. You can see all the micro layering. It catches all the light in the way that opal does, or other kinds of these stones that have chatoyancy.
So what of diamonds then?
Yeah, well, they tell us it's compressed coal for what is it, 1 million pounds for 1 million years or something is what I remember hearing as a kid. I don't know what the official narrative is on it, but that's what they're saying. And the one of the videos that I often show is from a channel. I think it's Night Light and Hawk, or I can't remember the name of it, but he basically uses a microwave to combine some different powders with a bit of steel wool in a crucible, and within 10 seconds he makes raw ruby. Ruby is the second hardest after diamond, right? Wow. Sapphire, ruby, same thing, just different colors, right?
Yeah, I have seen that. I have seen that with the ruby.
Right. So if you can, using your household microwave and the right combination, I think it's chromium oxide and aluminum oxide in a certain percentage, and then you have the steel wool there for conductivity, and then it's a crucible with a ceramic lid that can vibrate, and the plasma from the magnetron interacts with those materials and in seconds turns it into ruby. So that also mainstream science doesn't acknowledge transmutation of elements other than in the hearts of suns or in nuclear reactors, right? So and they definitely don't acknowledge biological transmutation, which in my mind is a fact, because a chicken is doing it every day as it makes an egg, because there's more calcium in the egg than is in the chicken's diet. So the chicken is creating an element by mixing other elements together biologically. And there's a whole book on that by a guy named Louis, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Kervran, Kervran, called Biological Transmutation. So they have to throw that out, because if biological transmutation is possible, then transmutation through high heat or plasma is possible, then that throws off everything they're telling us about the timelines when it comes to how the universe formed and how long it took and how long geology takes to form and everything. So they have to, just like they have to get rid of the ether, they have to get rid of that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it was just
so to me, I see this 100% tree. No, there's no sign of building there.
So they say like gold comes from the hearts of stars or born in supernovas, so we know that's not true. So gold, does that come from big trees or fossilized beings?
Well, you can actually find gold in the leaves of trees, right? They can start to look for gold deposits based on the amount that's accumulated inside the tree. But the claim is that the tree is absorbing the gold and the silver and the copper and the different metals through its roots from the earth, right? And that these are like these trace metals that are floating in the sap of the tree. We have monatomics in our bloodstream, right? They say we have a little bit of gold, we have a little bit of everything in it.
The greatest concentration in the heart. Yeah.
So when looking at the evidence for the trees, it's pretty clear that sap petrifies to quartz in varying types and varying colors. Sap comes in every color imaginable: green, blue, yellow, orange, you name it, bright red. And there's different kinds. So you've got different constitutions. You have phloem and you have xylem, and they move in different directions, and each one has a different, chemical constitution. And so if inside of that liquid, these metals exist in these microscopic forms, what would happen if it were to get hit by an incredibly powerful electromagnetic force?
Sure.
Right. Lichtenberg figures are all over the world. The biggest of which is the Grand Canyon. Someone in the chat early wanted me to talk about the Grand Canyon or Sedona. I think Sedona is clearly tree. That whole region, anywhere where you see these like in Arizona, like the wave where you see this incredible sandstone that's swirling around, or there's a place called White Pocket that just looks totally like the flesh and blood of a creature. Those sites, when you see the quartz seams, that's where the miners are going to find the gold and the silver. They're going to the quartz and pulling that out and then separating out the metals. So they tell us that petrified sap is amber, which is silly because amber is a 2.5 on the hardness scale. You can dent it with your finger, right? Your fingernail. So it's not petrified, it's just oxidized. And I've got loads of photographs of tree stumps that have been, cut, and like the sap has leaked out and it's there exposed to the sun and the air, and it's super hard and it looks identical to amber. Yeah. Is it petrified? No, it's oxidized, hardened sap. Yeah. So what would it look like if it was petrified? Well, how it would look would depend on what color it was to begin with and how it was petrified, and all these different factors that I was talking about before. But either way, if you think about the Lichtenberg figures, like I've shown videos where you can put electrodes on wood and it burns this fractal pattern in the wood, right? So some of that material is burning off in vapor, like the smoke, and some of that material is going to align itself along the lines of current, and it's going to be in that fractal shape. And interestingly enough, when you find native gold and silver, and they're very, very careful in the extraction, you see that it has tendrils and it's got that fractal form to it. So I think that the trees are actually producing those metals, not absorbing them, and through a transmutation of elements, then they get hit, and then it accumulates in these things that we go mining for.
Really interesting, though. That's probably
there's an old book from like the sixth. Yeah. There you go. They're using anatomical terminology in geology, which is interesting. There's a book from the 1600s. It's a Spanish book, huge, called Re Metallica, and they kind of hint at these things. And I've got so many videos on my channel, I can't remember what's where, so I can't refer people to a video. But there's people talking about how they find the gold deposits by going and looking at the what the trees have in them, and the leaves in particular.
Wow, that is amazing. Never ever thought of that. That is really good, actually. It really got me thinking there. With it,
yeah. So
with
this
yeah.
There's a lot of people said this is an old castle or something like that.
Yeah,
no,
I was just gonna say that.
It's tree, and I'll show examples of this in fresh wood as well when I start sharing. But yeah,
it's giving me the tree buzz. When I went along Route 66 through like New Mexico and Arizona, I was like, tree. They don't look like anything else. But
yeah, and like a site like this, I'm just like, I have no problem saying I don't know. They're wonderful words, very powerful. Three little words.
This is like it's supposed to be the floor of some sort of forest, but I see this on the coast of South Wales as well, exactly the same sort of formation where you can see some sort of structure, like like literally perps and beds, like old stonework. But yeah, it's all like melted. Well, it could be melted, it could be some sort of just that's melted. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it definitely looks like there's some drippage happening there, and how do they make bricks? What's the composition of brick? Are they mixing sand? Are they mixing sandstone with other stuff? Clay, sandstone, and baking it. So if the original materials that they're using to make the bricks in the first place also got hit, maybe it would do what we saw in some of those bricks that we showed in the beginning.
Yeah, that would make sense. But this sort of formation you were talking about earlier,
that's Petra. I'm pretty certain that's Petra. Yeah, and that to call that melted building, I think is it just doesn't make sense to me. And
No,
that's
no,
where
I would agree with you in
I
this case, definitely.
this is
That's
where
really,
Paul Cook and I started to butt heads, and things went sour. But you can see the circular concentric rings there, and the ceiling also on some of these images, as it breaks away, it flakes away. You can see the complexity of the layering, and there's this alternation of color. Now, if that melted, it should look like those bricks did that we looked at in the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
And you would lose all of that beautiful detail of the micro lamination.
Yeah, I'm glad I showed that example. When you said earlier, I thought, yeah, almost something like that then. Difficult to know, isn't it?
It looks like Mickey Mouse got hit. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that, Mickey Mouse, especially, 1 year's got melted off. But there's great potholes in it as well. It's like some sort of like water erosion. But what?
There's so many different
stonework.
When you get into things like plasma and there's so many different scientific experiments where they're working with different kinds of matter in different ways, and it yields all kinds of bizarre patterns and shapes. So again, I don't know.
Well, the Thunderbirds project, they talk about, like, from planetary terms, but they talk about a lot of these mesas being pushed up by arcing of high intensity plasma bursts, which is super lightning. And they say they skip, and then you can see they're in ones or twos. Literally, I thought, Did you ever see this?
And they have videos also where they're showing, as it's getting hit with the plasma, all these different flows that happen and how things rise up and fall away. Yeah.
So I was quite well, that's really interesting, I thought. If you just
I think they're obviously they've got an electro universe model, but I think they're couching it in a heliocentric model simultaneously. I think of it more like if we are in some kind of an enclosed realm, like like a Tesla plasma ball or something. How when you touch it, all the electricity goes to your finger or something. Well, maybe, and also if you think of the Fresnel's lens, that magnifying glass I was talking about, if we do have a firmament and it's translucent, or it permits light to come through, and it's shaped like that, and then it could totally create these incredibly powerful plasma things. Also, I've talked about volcanoes, and the ash is conductive, and the biggest plasma storms that we've ever recorded, they're over volcanic clouds. So if you had 1,000 volcanoes erupting simultaneously,
wow,
how much ash would that be? And if that started to be plasma activity, what's that going to do to the things below? And the Bible, I think, or maybe one of the apocryphal texts, talks about a time when the body parts were raining from the sky. Jason Bashir's has talked about that as well. Sure. And if the trees were very, very, very large and reached up, into the heavens, then in the rainforests, the like 80% of the life is in the canopy of the trees, not on the ground. So all of that life up in those trees would have been the first to get hit, and then that would rain down. So they might have been like our big buildings, or and their lightning rods and everything. The trees would have been the first to get hit.
Yeah.
That, supposed to that could be a pyramid or something.
Well, I don't know. It's not like a tree. It looks like it's an actual pyramid, doesn't it? This one. So again, what's encasing it? Maybe when there was a mud flood, it came from above and it just encased everything and then solidified over the buildings or over the pyramids. Who even knows? So I find it interesting that Mount Meru on the Mercator map, or the famous Hyperborean map, looks exactly like a tree trunk.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that the world tree of the Norse mythologies and many other mythologies around the world is in that location, and I think it could be. Yeah, it could be. I've got that in my presentations as well. It could be a representative of just the electromagnetic field and the toroid itself, and that axis that we.
Yeah, sure. I propose that
we call Mount Meru, but But I lean towards, you know, there being 4 continents there. There's so many maps that suggest that, and the aurora borealis is an interesting phenomenon. And you've got, if you have a vortexing inward of the etheric flow, that's going to, you know, it speeds up as it gets closer to that point, which would be Mount Meru. And as it's speeding up, it's going to activate the noble gases, so that could give rise to things like the aurora borealis. So, and then there's books, you know, like what is it, the Smoky God? You know, the Norse fisherman who you know, ends up in a current with his son and on a boat.
But Olaf Johnson.
They go talk with the giants, and I mean, that totally sounds like Tartaria. You know,
surely
still exists there, and you know,
giants in silks.
Come pass, you know, your compass points there.
Just concerning this Norse model, I'm really intrigued by it. Like, you know, you get the tree, which is a giant tree, which is supposed to be Mount Meru. But I'm always intrigued with this rainbow bridge that takes you to another dimension. And look what they got. Like in this depiction, they got like one of those Roman arches. I'm like, I wonder if that's what's going on. You just step through an arch and then you're just in a different place. So yeah, this stack looks like it might be a tree, Mike.
Yeah. So the whole basalt topic, to me, that's whether it's tree. I can show a clip of another theory that I think is also interesting, but all of that screams biogeology to me. That the idea that this was formed by rapidly cooling lava that had to be surrounded by earth in order to create the pressure so that the lava had nowhere to expand, right? Because that's the mainstream model, is the honeycomb pattern comes because as the lava is coming up through the fissures and this rapid cooling event, like whatever froze the mammoths in Siberia, when that happens, there's nowhere for the lava to expand to. And what their claim is that that's what's creating the honeycomb pattern. And I present lots of images that I believe thoroughly debunk that claim. But regardless, they can't go back in time to witness it. They can't show it occurring presently. We have active volcanoes. There's no,
you don't see that in Hawaii.
There's no in between stages. There are some, you know, basalt structures that have what looks like a big melted clump on top of them, but to say that that's lava, I think, is silly, because lava is amorphous and it never has a straight line ever.
Yeah, it makes no sense, and then it gives off this perfect geometry you could measure. It just makes no sense. Like that Giant's Causeway you're on about, it's got like a lot of stone prominent on top of it.
Yeah, I lean towards tree with it, but it could also be mushroom, and I'll show some evidence, potential evidence of that later.
Yeah,
because if the trees were a thing, like you showed a kind of sandstone structure earlier that had like a flattened top, and there's a lot of those. I think they're called, what do they call those things? The hoodoos.
Okay.
Right. There's a lot of those sites. Now that could be just sedimentary layering where you have and that's the mainstream explanation, is that you have a thicker, more compact layer, and then you have a softer layer underneath that wears away. And so that's why you get those little hats on top. But when you start to look at mushrooms, looks exactly like mushroom. And then there's another species. I don't think they're actually considered mushroom. They're called stemonitis. And there's like 20 different varieties of these things, and I'll show a little video clip of them growing rapidly so you can see how they grow. And when you look at Devil's Tower, it looks exactly like these stemonitis things. And Hangman 1128, who's the guy who's put out,
I know Hangman.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's put out
he's
the best information on the big trees out there. I traveled with him for a week in Denver. I mean, in Colorado, and in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And he took me he's been looking at these sites for the last 10 years, and he took me to the absolute best location. So I've got a stream recap of that journey on my channel, but I've also shared a lot of his work over the years, but his channel is fantastic.
Yeah.
And he was at Devil's Tower, and he was showing all of the structures in the region below it are all sandstone, and exhibiting the evidence of tree that he's shown. And then you've got the tower on top. But he claims, and I'm on board after being there, that the tree that was the Black Hills is a tree that was anywhere from 50 to 100 miles wide at the base.
Shit. Wow.
So once again, that you're getting into like a holographic fractal kind of a universe where everything was, that, and like Roger Spur's giant dragon in the Sahara attacking the fish, right? So, if you go up from us, what's a fractal level up? Maybe something like Mont Go, this elephant mountain that I was, reporting on. And that's, a creature that would have been roughly 3 miles long. Well, what's a fractal level up from that? Maybe something 1,000 miles long. There's your dragon and fish in the Sahara. I wasn't like, oh, I believe this, but I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I was already looking into Earth shape and the idea that there may be outer realms, that we don't really know how big this place is. So, and there's so much that doesn't make any sense at all when you try and put that in the context of a heliocentric model. So anyway, back to what I was saying about the stemonitis. If you looked at a tree that was 50 to 100 miles wide, Devil's Tower is obviously tiny compared to that. So we can have saplings or we can have fully grown trees, but we can also have trees that have mushrooms growing on them. And that whole sandstone structure all around Devil's Tower has the appearance of sites that he's shown are clearly tree. And so people can decide for themselves later when I show the clip.
Oh, super.
I still lean towards tree, though. I think it's tree.
Same. And funny how the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind had the emphasis on Devil's Tower with the UFOs, etc. Yeah.
Trying to imprint a whole other idea in our minds and get us to not even pay attention to the very obvious, evidence. It's right in front of our eyes. So.
Yeah, it's pretty.
So this is the most interesting tabletop mountain out there, in my opinion. I mean, you've got the Tipuis with the never-ending waterfalls that are very interesting for other reasons.
Wow, yeah.
But this is the only one I've ever seen that has concentric rings. Like, how do you explain a sedimentary layering model where dead animal and plant life are compacting over millions of years to create that structure? Because that's the mainstream explanation.
Yeah.
Okay, even if you buy that, how do you explain those concentric rings?
Wow, it'd be really interesting if you were into dendrochronology and you could look into the rings on top of there. I bet there'd be some interesting things to find. But yeah, so this is Devil's Tower, an old photograph, but you've got all this rock at the bottom as well.
Yeah, I once went to. I didn't get to go there when I went with Hangman, but I went to Devil's Post Pile, and they're like 4 foot wide. Those chunks, they're big. Those
really
big pieces. I'm not sure about Devil's Tower's debris there, but the ones at Devil's Post Pile were, and you can get up on top of it and you can look down at the honeycomb pattern. It's really cool.
Interesting. When it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, isn't it? This realm now, isn't it? Everything's just scaled down. The buildings are big.
Yeah, there's there's a scene in Back to the Future, the second one, where they're in what is it, Arizona, where they have those Monument Valley, and and the professor is talking to Marty, and he's like, we got to be real careful about, when you go back in time, because we wouldn't want you to go back in time and get transported to where a giant tree once stood. And as he's saying this, is one of those structures right behind him. And I think it's a total truth drop, just like the Avatar movie is. I tried to play that clip in my presentation, but it didn't play for some reason.
Wow. Where giant trees stood once, did he said that in the movie? Oh, they don't have to give it away in Hollywood, don't they? But yeah, there would have been something along that scale. I think that's more realistic.
And we have the myths of Paul Bunyan, right? Cutting
Mhm.
down the giant trees, and he had his big friend the ox. So
what about Jack and the
maybe-
Beanstalk? He plants magic beans.
Exactly.
The beanstalk goes up. He chops that down with an axe. There's giants up on another realm above us with golden eggs and a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the fun synchronicities that's happened with the mountain here in Spain that after I was digging into it was the river that goes alongside the mountain is called Gata de Gorgos. And the Gorgos are the Gorgons, who were the 3 Greek goddesses, the sisters. And one of those 3 was Medusa. So alongside Montgo, which I believe is a petrified creature, and have presented over 50 different data points in support of that theory, the river that goes alongside of it is named after the goddess of petrification. Instant petrification.
God, what is the chances? But there, near Montgo, there is a certain energy, and going over the trunk on that road, I was like, "Ooh, what's that feeling?" So there's definitely something going on with that mountain, 100%. I'm down with it.
On the Guru Gathering last year, I led a tour. There were about 12 of us, and we went up to the eye. And I might do it again if people are interested. We'll see. Hopefully, it won't be like it is now. It's hot as hell, but yeah. So come along if you can.
Yeah, man, I'd love to go up that mountain. I bet the view from up there is out of this world. I just can't even imagine on a clear day.
Yeah, the view from the top of the head is unobstructed, 360 degrees in every direction, oceans, mountains, multiple layers of mountain ranges. It's an awesome place to stand. It really is.
And Ibiza, they shouldn't be visible on the globe.
Despite Alex having fear of heights, I managed to get him up there, and
is he?
He got to experience it, but he's not grateful.
Well, he doesn't like to get too high.
Yeah, not as far as altitude.
All right. All right. You have anything to share with us then today?
Sure.
Wicked.
Dig into some stuff here.
So thank you everyone for being here today. And this is streaming live also on Mike's channel, Stellium 7, live right now as well, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, 112 watching. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you. I wish there was time to follow the chat. Hi, Wendy. She's one of my moderators.
423 watching here live.
Awesome.
So,
it's a gaggle, a gathering. Let's see where to begin.
Big love to Eric the Healer.
Let's see.
But them Avatar movies, I've gone off it. The newest one is just rubbish. But the first one, I was like, oh my God, yeah. You struck a chord. I watched it about 4 times or something. But yeah, I'd love to live in a tree house.
Yeah, the Avatar movies, they're very moving. I think there's something about, the topic that it just resonates with our hearts. Like there's a part of us that knows that that it was real. So actually, let me do this. Just I mentioned Montgo. Can you see Montgo there? Do you see Montgo?
Okay, there it is. Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So this is fun. Somebody posted this on Facebook in a local group here, and I had never seen it before. But for people who have maybe a hard time seeing, the head shape and the eye and everything, somebody did this, which I thought was fun. So just to help people get a perspective.
Yeah.
So let's
Whoa.
What?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that was the title of one of my other presentations. Let's see. So that we had all kinds of different threads. I'm just gonna kind of scan
That's
through
so
some
cool.
of the, I'll just jump around because, you know, we've talked about like the Petra. You know, this is the front of one of the structures, and you can see,
cool.
like, you know, here's a knot and there's a knot.
Wow.
This you see my mouse when I'm moving around?
No, not really. No. There, that's
No,
perfect. That's Petra. Yeah. Wow. Oh my God.
You don't see the mouse.
No, we can see it now. Yes, there it's there.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
good.
now the picture's
all
up
right.
there.
Yeah. So, you know, this to me looks like it was tree to begin with, and then it eroded probably through, you know, water flow, and that's why everything is all smoothed out. There might be some melt involved in this one as well. Oh wait, I've got text here. How do you turn that off? Toggle subtitles. There we go.
There you go.
You showed let's see, hide that. You showed this. This is similar to that other image you showed, but from the inside. And here again, I you know, I have a hard time understanding how people can look at this and think that this is layers of brick and mortar. You know, same thing goes here, where you have all these concentric rings. They're not going to melt in that fashion. So it's not that there isn't evidence of meltology, but there's evidence of a lot of other stuff, and people are applying that theory to it. And here you can see, look at all this beautiful micro grain, and then, you know, a little. I mean, this is exactly what tree does. I'll get into some good good examples of that in a moment.
Wow.
And this is that's red rock in here. Wait, let me go back in Colorado.
Yeah.
And another thing that happens with tree grain is you get all of these lines. Like here you have, I wish I could pause that, but you see there was like diagonal and then straight lines. Tree does this kind of stuff. There's so many. I'll show some incredible examples of what tree does. And then you get these little holes in them and stuff. And, you know, to suggest that this was once a building and it melted, I just think it's foolish, honestly. And look at this. Anyway,
that looks mushroomy.
Yeah, that's Red Rock again. That's Angel's Landing there, which is in Zion. I got to hike that when I was a kid, and it was one of the peak moments of my life. This is what's called banded iron. And so again, you've got that alternation of color. And in the mainstream geological model, how does that work with sedimentary layering? Earth just decided to do this, and then no, we're going to go back to that, and then this, and then go back to that. And, you know, it's just this alternation of this, you know, this repeat. And you can see the beauty of all the grain there.
Wow.
We talked about Lichtenberg figures. For people who don't know what that is, this is they want you to think that little rivulets here form these larger channels and then created this. But if you look at Lichtenberg figures and you look at how wood burns with you know, high voltage, it does exactly that. And I believe that the Grand Canyon is the biggest example of a Lichtenberg figure. And this is what I was saying, that the biggest plasma storms in the world are formed over volcanoes. And this is the Fresnel's lens at work, and it immediately starts to melt. That's
unbelievable.
And you can see it. And this is what I initially had the problem with the whole meltology thing, is there was none of that. Where's the vitrification if it's really melted? Now, it may be that it melted, and then so much has happened in the realm since then that all that glass has worn away. So I'm open to that possibility. This is what I was talking about before when we were describing stalactites and stalagmites.
I'm about to show you 5 different examples of rock forming quickly. Then I'm going to
Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Perfect.
ask you a question about a dinosaur bone. I'm going to show at the end. From Karlovy Vary in the Czech Republic, mineralized water went through these pipes and formed this 80 years. Here's a spark plug in stone, no more than 20 to 40 years to form this. This little guy right here was put into a mineral springs in Karlovy Vary, and within just 6 weeks, it turned to stone. And this right here, this is the same material you find in stalactites and stalagmites in those caves that they say are millions of years old. This right here took 6 months to form. Here's the question. Here's a dinosaur vertebrae. If these right here can form in that length of time, anywhere between weeks to months to years, how long does it take to fossilize a dinosaur bone? If the creationists are right, then it's 4,500 years, no older. What do you think?
Well, if dinosaurs didn't exist, then it takes a long time.
They got the DNA out of a piece of amber. Out of an insect in Jurassic Park. Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Yep. So again, just keep an open mind is what I'm asking people to do. That it's not just one of these things; it's all of them simultaneously, probably. This is what I was talking about before with the concentric spheres. A lot of the ancient cosmological models talk about the music of the spheres, and the heavenly bodies are rotating within those spheres. So what if what if the world tree grows, and then this is like Martin Kenny. Remember his cosmic egg model, right?
Yeah, man.
That could easily have been something that is going on here.
Yeah.
And then you got your
the Norse model looks like an egg shape for sure. Yeah.
So here's going back to you touched on this in the live stream before last that you did when you got back from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at what lava does. There's no straight lines anywhere ever.
Just makes more land.
Yeah, makes more land, and that material is incredibly rich. I'm of the mind that it maybe not all volcanoes, but a large number of the volcanoes are former tree, and that perhaps when they got hit, there was a transmutation of elements, and things like uranium, plutonium, and radium and are formed. And maybe those exist in pockets below the earth, and there's a percolation of materials that come up periodically through fissures, which we call lava, right? And so if you buy the hexagonal thing forming from rapidly cooling lava, how do you explain the larger hexagonal here? Right? That's how biology grows. That's why I started using the term biogeology. Originally, I was calling things mud fossils because I thought that's what they were because of the work of Roger Spurr. But then I realized that could only explain a portion of what was out there, and it didn't explain rapid petrification. It didn't explain things happening through high mineral content waters or from the plasma and what that does. And even if you buy this as like a natural geological phenomena, how do you explain the diagonal cut here? Right? If that was something carved by glacier, which is probably what they would try to say, why isn't that touched?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you get all the swirl, which is what tree and other plant life do. They have this constant swirling of the grain. And so even if that is something you can explain, I have a hard time imagining you can explain this, right? You've got these concentric triangles. Does that also happen with rapidly cooling lava? I don't even know what the mainstream explanation is for this. And here you have structures within structures, and this is what biology does.
Wow. I've seen that on the South Wales beach. My friend Mel, who's in chat now, exactly the same feature, and they said it was not, supposed to be geology. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then this one on the left is White Pocket. That's I have a video clip of flying over that. And so again, I can't tell you what these things are. I'm not going to make any claims about what it was originally. Yeah, this totally looks like a cellular structure. This looks like flesh, blood, and then the gristle, the fatty portions between the meaty portions.
Ooh, the first image, my mind went straight to dragon.
Right.
Looks scaly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, I've got videos like looking at like what are concretions. Is it possible that maybe they were giant seeds, that our bodies make stones as well? So if we had giant creatures, maybe these are the, you know, the gallstones or the kidney stones.
Yeah,
of
they grow. Yeah,
giant creature. Right, they grow. And then again, you know, with the mainstream model, you've got all of this layering that's happening. Well, they want us to believe that this is upright because of tectonic activity. But even if you buy that, like, why is it again alternating? And notice how these layers are so thick, whereas these are thin. So, you know, it's, but again, this is what biology does. You know, different kinds of structures. And look at this one, that cellular structure you're talking about. And
yeah.
these swirling lines here are extending into that. It's such a wild thing.
Wow.
And this is white pocket.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, so like to say that this is a former building, I think is silly, honestly. Now, oh wait, there's actually, I never noticed it before, but right there at the end, I just saw it. Let's see, dinosaur tracks. No, it was before the end.
Wow.
Right. Oh, there. You know, it looks like there might be a little something carved in here. Like they could definitely carve into these structures, especially if they're softer. But, you know, this is what they want us to think. All this stuff happened this way. Things layered out, and then tectonic plates banged together, created the mountains, and then those started to break off in different ways. And that's how we got everything.
Sedimentary deposit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Mount St. Helens deposit that formed.
Wow.
As the grains were being propelled over the surface in a slurry, the particles separated coarse and fine into thin layers. I had thought that a catastrophe would mix up all the particles and make a homogenized deposit. Boy, was I wrong. Right here, a pyroclastic flow moving at freeway speed or higher can separate particles into coarse and fine. So layering doesn't require millions of years, thousands of years, or even hundreds of years. It can form rapidly in this slurry flow process. So Mount St. Helens tells us something really interesting about how rapidly strata can form. There's even micro thin lamination in this deposit. It's remarkable.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, obviously petrification is an indisputed fact. We've got all kinds of examples of it. The question is, how long did it take? They tell us that the biggest petrified tree in the world is 8 feet in diameter, which is absurd. The archivist, Ben, he's given me an article from a 100-year-old newspaper that talks about them finding a 700-foot-long petrified tree. And when you examine the work of Hangman, you can see that it's exhibiting tree from the micro to the macro, but you know, a piece that would just be a tiny chunk of this would be something like 50 to 100 feet in length. So that we're talking about massive structures. Petrified wood can be made in laboratories. They hung pieces of wood in volcanic waters, and within 7 years they were fully petrified. You've got the Mother Shipton's Cave stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then this is Lake Natron, where it's got pH waters of 12, and things fall in and they just start to get encased in crystalline structures. Yeah, so I'm not going to get into all this, the why of how things petrify. People can go to the presentations that I've done, but and then we get all these anomalous finds. Jason has done some really great videos showing all the different anomalous things that have been found in the geological record that just don't make any sense.
Yeah, like big axe head or a lump hammer head in a coal mine he talks about in Texas or something. Like fossilized.
Or that petrified spark plug in that.
Oh yeah.
in that clip I just showed. Yeah, there's loads and loads of them, and you know,
here we go.
Each one is a deal breaker in and of itself. So this is what I was talking about, how I think the monatomics are aligning themselves along these lines of current. And you know, they've got all these stories of like ancient cities in the Grand Canyon, and stuff went missing once the Smithsonian got wind of it, and you know, only like 20% of the canyon are people allowed to move around in.
Yeah.
And for
I got images of them buildings in the wall of Grand Canyon. I've had them quite a while, but if you look for them, they're just not available. I'm glad I kept them. So,
yeah,
that's mind blowing.
Yeah, this is the work of Girolamo Sagato, a guy in the 1800s who knew how to petrify anything, and there's museums with these objects in them. So these are all stone kidneys, hearts, you know, breasts, you name it, brains. There's all kinds of weird stuff that happens in this realm that I was never taught about in school. These are bog bodies. You familiar with those?
Yeah, of course I am in Islands. This guy's depicting himself as a gorgon, you know, like the Medusa in this. But yeah, no, the bog bodies, perfectly preserved in a Irish box. Yeah.
And so what happens because of the acidic waters is the bones and the muscles dissolve into nothing. And what remains is the skin sac, the hair, and then the organs inside. But the interesting thing about the organs is they harden.
Interesting.
People sent me, someone sent me this. These are acorns that formed in a year. They were in a bucket under a roof, and the water was running off of the roof, and you know, the minerals in the, I don't know, in the tiles of the roof or something caused those acorns to turn to solid stone within a year. So how long it takes things to petrify is definitely not what we were taught. And like I was saying before, there's lots of different ways people can pause and read this if they want, that things can petrify. Let's see. There used to be petrified forests all over. Now we just have a couple of spots where tourists can go and pay to see them. But the reason they're not here anymore is because they were harvested. Because, and this is again from the work of Ben, the archivist. He gave me a number of these. These are from newspapers before the Rockefellers took over publishing and our educational system. They were reporting on all kinds of different petrified finds, and here they've got petrified logs that were assaying $15,000 of silver to the ton, and by those days' money, that's about 600 grand a ton. So you can imagine that they might have wanted to get those metals. Here's that article about the 700-foot long giant tree. But yeah, they were harvesting. So not only are they going into the quartz veins, which I'm saying are the great trees, but they're also harvesting all these metals from the smaller trees. So when people are like, well, where are the trees? The big trees, you know? Well, a lot of it still remains. We're just blinded by the paradigm. I call it paradigm blindness. You know, how could this be missed by so many? Well, we're blinded by the paradigm we grow up in. And the experts most of all, because they're suffering from expertitis, a word I coined. You know, there's compartmentalization. The geologists aren't analysts, anatomists, so they might be looking at something anatomical and just not even realize it. Did a video called "There's Gold and Them There Are Trees." You know, there's Paul Bunyan and his ox.
Yeah, super interesting.
I'm just flying through stuff. So I didn't know it, but opal comes from tree as well. It's just silica infused wood, and and that happens on the grand scale also. When they go to opal mines, they find these areas where there's these silica infused bits of wood, but they're blinded to the fact that everything around the colorful areas is also exhibiting tree grain. And that's just an amazing piece of opal. And then I was
so beautiful.
So on the right is native copper. That's in its natural form. And on the left is that rainbow obsidian.
Well, that's
so you got all the layering of the tree in there. and it's got this color that's catching the light. And this is they're obsidian flows like in Oregon, and you can see the in between stages where you can see the tree grain, and then you can see it started to vitrify, and it's melted. Cool. and then you get that yeah, like, oh, this is kind of comical. This guy, oh no, this is just showing turquoise. I've got a clip. It's not in here, but these guys were opal mining.
This is my birthstone opal.
Yeah, this is turquoise, but they were opal mining, and the guy reaches down and he finds, he's like, they're banging the wall to get the opal out, and then all these chunks fall on the ground, and then he picks up one of the non-opal chunks and he's like, "Huh, that looks like petrified wood." And,
wow.
So this is pretty far out.
That's just mind blowing. Wow.
So to say that that's building or it just formed from layering, I think is silly again.
In that case, phew, that even looks like the knots of wood, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like fresh wood. It's got all the color,
doesn't it?
It's yeah, and then so each one of these things that I'm showing, it's like a data point. You know, you've got the stumps, you've got the plateaus, you've got the waterfalls coming out of them, which they call those waterfalls artesian wells, right? You've got all the different colors of sap that exists. Wow. Here's an article. Sorry, I'm flying through, but let me go back so people. Yeah, so again, really, you know, this is what they would call amber if it was a bit harder, right? So it can be red, they can be blue, they can be green. Here they're talking about a tree that bleeds metal. They're actually, you know, breaking down what's in the sap itself. So they're saying that it's absorbing that from below, but what if it's creating it through a transmutation process? Here's some green sap. Then we've got these trees that are all over the place. I've seen loads of these videos where they're tapping into the waters below and it's gushing out either through a hack in the side of the tree or through a knot. And then there are these guys named the Action Adventure Twins who are spelunking down 500-600 foot drops. And then, oh, there's always like a little channel that snakes off to the side and then another drop going down. And when you look at what they call collateral root structures, they follow that same pattern. And so these guys, I don't even think that they realize what they're inside of when they're going down. But you know, they're going in the deepest caves in the world. And it's like, huh, well, if the smaller tree has a channel that's pumping out that much water, what would it be like if you had an avatar-sized tree? Well, maybe it would look like that. And then, you know, I've never been able to find the study, but people claim that there was LiDAR that was done of the whole region around Devil's Tower, exposing a root structure that extended for miles. I've not been able to find that study, but so quartz is sap, and this is soft and this is hard. And you can see just the beauty. These are photographs that I took when I was with Hangman. Incredible sights. Let's see here. And like, if you can't see that's wood, I don't know what to tell you, but it's even got the color. The north side that doesn't get the sun exposure always has more color because it hasn't been bleached by the elements. And, you know, bigger versions of what you're seeing there is what the miners would go into to get all the gold and silver and copper and whatnot.
Wow.
I mentioned my theory that the volcanoes are actually former tree, and the lava tubes would be those root structures. Ooh. And they're claiming that these structures are being formed by the flowing lava. But how do you get a structure like this where it's like just, you know, bifurcates and goes in different directions? But the other thing that's interesting is, see how those lines are parallel to the ground?
Yeah.
Let me start this over. Well, there you've got the opposite.
Wow.
So is this form a root structure? See how they're going this way now?
Yeah.
And then the stuff percolates up from below and it flows out through that. And we talked about the tepuis.
Yeah.
This is clearly not coming from rainfall. That's Angel's Falls. That's the tallest.
Angel Falls, Venezuela.
Yeah, tallest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That tepui, I think that's the same one.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So the trees are obviously pulling up water, and apparently that still seems to function when they're dead. And isn't it interesting that they call them artesian wells? Artery.
They're perpetual, aren't they? They keep on flowing, yeah.
Yep. Never ending.
That's amazing.
So that is some of the stuff that I wanted to show you from the PowerPoint, but I'm going to go into my some of my folders here for
super cool.
Or maybe we can interact with the chat or something while I get,
just totally enjoying this at the moment. I hope you all are in chat as well. The top of full of structures. People having a say so in chat. We got 503 here in chat. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to share this out if you would, guys. And also you can find Mike's channel down below in the descriptions box. Also Space Busters. He's there in chat. I don't know, Steve. Another Flat Earth legend. Thank you very much, US Ape. Very kind of you. So yeah, quite mind-blowing that. It's just making me think about the world in a much different way. I had a lady come up to me in Dundee. She said, I'm literally crying inside. She said, I can't believe how overwhelmed I am about coal and coal mines, thinking about tree roots. She was literally, shaking like this. I was like, I know.
And coal seams, they've got coal seams that are, I think, miles wide, interesting.
Oh, no, they're more than that. The one that starts in South Wales goes apparently under the entire Atlantic Ocean and comes up in Pennsylvania, apparently. It's exactly the same coal in Pennsylvania as in Wales.
Huh. So is that like fallen, biochar, like Topher Gardner, he's making biochar all the time.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got coal. And then if you cook it without oxygen, which something buried in mud would do, if it got hit, it was under mud and also got hit by plasma to the point that it started, to combust. It would, if it had no oxygen, it would just become a massive coal seam.
Actually makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Let's see here.
So, are you happy to take a couple of questions, Mike? If anybody,
absolutely, yeah.
Well, if anyone wants, just type in capital so I can see it because I've got terrible eyesight, as you know. And we'll ask Mike. There's 1 billion.
Hey, Derp. Great to see you,
questions
Derp.
rather than statements, please. I'm sure you've got a lot to say. 100% spot on with the Lynchenberg theory. Yeah, I definitely think so as well. It's funny how rivers and all of it meanders in exactly the same way, and it looks like literally lung alveoli, and it looks like electrical synapses of the brain. There's so many things that copy this sort of thing. Somebody's not happy with Roger Spear in the chat, apparently. So I can't keep everyone happy all the time, can we?
He hates people that dare to question the shape of the Earth.
I'm quite aware of this.
It's such a shame because his ideas work perfectly, on a flat Earth. Some of them, not. I mean,
yeah, I know. He just checks it out there.
I just do not agree with it all. But
yeah,
I mean, people ask him like, how does a 1,000-mile-long dragon, breathe? If it stood up, its head would be above the atmosphere. It's simple questions like that. And the fish that it's supposedly battling, how would it swim in the ocean when the ocean is far too small? It's like, they're just, and he's like, blocked. Flat earthers have ruined my life's work. It's like, anyway.
Yeah. We're not being like bigoted here. People can think what they want with their opinions, and they can think they're on a spinning ball. It doesn't bother me one bit anymore. That's about them, boo. But when people
Someone
want you
asked
to
if
believe
Vesuvius-
something, it's not objective reality. That's something else. I don't want to be persuaded into lies. That's what you get there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not down with that at all.
Belief is the enemy of knowing, as Crow says, and it's got the word lie right in the middle of it, you know. And but also the opposite is true. Knowing is the enemy of belief, because when you know, you don't have to believe any longer. So some things you can know, and other things are very difficult to know. Someone asked about Vesuvius.
I don't know anything. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah, the one making the claim is the one who, you know, has to provide the evidence, and that's what
I see this a lot. You know, I see it in the truth community as well. This is it. This is like, you know, how it is. I've got all the answers to everything in the universe, and you know, and anybody who thinks differently than this will be frowned upon. You know, that's not critical thinking. It's to stick with one thing, you know, what I believe or what I think. I mean, I don't believe in anything, but what I think one day. So, like, you know, your subject, for example, when I watched your presentation in Dundee, I was like, oh yeah, I'd have a moment by myself.
Yeah, my thing with the whole tree thing and the mountain and the heartstones, which we haven't even mentioned today, is if there wasn't something to it, why does it line up so perfectly? Like when you look at, you know, alternative history, which you've been covering for a decade now, you know, Tartary and everything, you know, surrounding that, star forts and world's fairs and mud floods and orphan train, it goes on and on and on. When you look at all that stuff, it all actually dovetails and works. It creates a tapestry of a very coherent view. There's so much we don't know about what was going on back then, but it shouldn't, you know, if it was just a bunch of harebrained conspiracy theorists throwing out ideas, it shouldn't all fit together in such a wonderfully coherent way with all of this visual and empirical evidence.
Great.
You know, so the only way that they can get us to not start to think about or believe these things is to just, you know, hit us with a barrage of propaganda and movies and all, and that's exactly what we've all grown up with.
Yeah, man. Distractions.
There were some questions here. Let's see.
Yeah. You got questions in your chat there, with your peeps?
Oh, I might not be seeing the whole. Yeah, because you got way more people. I guess this is just my chat.
500 and odd, yeah.
Comments, recording, okay.
I haven't said that. Roger's an awfully nice chap, I think.
Yeah, I liked him a lot in the beginning. You know, he comes off as just kind of like
gentle,
little crazy professor vibe, and he's kind. You know, until you start talking Earthshape with him. Yeah. You know, but he's totally fine. You know, referencing grayscale images from supposed NASA probes as unequivocal proof that there are Titan body parts floating in space, and I'm like, you know, that these different asteroids and things are all
Phobos
former Titans.
Is a knee joint. Phobos. It looks like a knee joint.
Well, I saw some questions in here before, but there were a whole bunch of all caps, and they're not there now.
Yeah, capital letters for questions, please, guys, so I can see, because my eyesight's to shit. Hey, 16 over. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. I would, if that band hadn't sung it, I would really like it, because I can't really stand the Red Hot Chili Peppers after what I've learned about them. Definitely not good people.
Okay, so now I'm on your chat.
What's your view on the final experiment?
Well, it's not an experiment, is it?
Well, no, it's not. No, it's
any manipulable variables? There was like 4 or 5 messages here that were all caps, and they're all gone now. I'm sorry, folks. Someone asked about Vesuvius. I remember that one.
All right.
Probably tree. I mean, my take is, I'm guessing many, if not all, of the volcanoes are former tree.
Here's one by Dr. Bass. Got one. Have you considered the veins of gold in mountains being actual veins of giant creatures?
I'm not opposed to that idea. When I started my research on the mountain, I had thought that other people would be doing similar stuff, because I kind of created a template that could be followed. You don't have to have a background in anatomy to be able to do this. Like I was a chiropractor, so that was why I spotted this stuff initially. I'm like, wait a minute, that cave looks like an eye socket. Like the shape is proper. I'm not pareidolising. So then I'm like, okay, well, there should be internal structures that match that, if that's true. And so I got out the anatomy books and I reminded myself of the 7 bones that make up the eye socket and the fissures that they form. And there's these points where they meet called sutures. So I had this kind of laundry list in my head of things I'd expect to find when I went up there. And all of a sudden I started finding them, like in big numbers. And so that was when it was almost like, it was a Twilight Zone experience for me. It was it was surreal. And I'm talking with Alex, he's been along for the whole ride with me on this thing. And I got him back because he's the one who got me looking at Earth shape. And then I shattered his paradigm after that, as he's often said. So, but the point is that, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what I was going to say is that if you think about a forest and how many trees there are versus how many creatures you see walking around in the forest, not very many. A lot up in the trees, but you'll see the occasional animal, right? So, but you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of trees for every animal you see. So I think there's going to be way, way more tree evidence than Titan evidence. And so when I started doing this, I thought other people would do something similar. And there's loads and loads of photographs of sites that look like Titans laying on their back, and all kinds of people that are posting these things, and they're just convinced 100% that what they're looking at is what it appears to be. And I don't know that that's true, because a lot of times if you just change the angle and look at things from above or other, it doesn't look at all like what it does from that one particular angle. So we have to exercise discernment. We need to get on the ground and examine these sites in person, not just from an aerial view on Google Earth or photographs, which is pretty much all that's out there. There's only a couple sites that I've ever seen that were like, wow, that's got a Titan look to it. Actually, I can show it in a moment when there's some more things I want to share visually. So I think there's going to be way more tree than Titan. And, your question could, or that question could, could gold and these things, could these be inside of great beings? Absolutely. It's my opinion.
I'm talking with that, Dr. Bass. Definitely. I was just going to say, it's funny how Google pixelated the caves on Mount Go.
Right.
So it winks at you now.
That was, there were a lot of people who are like, this is a far-fetched idea. And then they heard that and they're like, all right, I'm on board now. They'd seen my presentations and they'd seen the things that I showed. I'm going inside the caves. I'm not just looking at a photograph. I'm doing it, in person. And they were still skeptical, and then Google Earth censors the mountain.
There's a lady at Blue. She's asking, when will you be doing your next expedition? When will the next one be? Isn't that during September, isn't it?
Yeah, and the second Guru gathering is in September. That's going to be an incredible event. There's already about 130 or 140 signed up for it, and
really,
yeah.
Oh my God!
For the main event, which is just a one-day event, which is going to be music, the Guru Band, Alex, Michael, and Jasper and Franz are going to just rock the house for 90 days. 90 hours, 90 minutes, 90 hours. And then Mark Devlin is going to DJ, and there might be another surprise as well, hopefully. And that's a one-day event that's in this beautiful nightclub that's right on the beach, and we've got it all to ourselves for over 12 hours. And one of those mornings after, perhaps I'll lead a tour if people want it. Not the day after, because people are going to be wrecked.
Yeah.
But maybe a couple days after, I'll go up if there's enough people that want to do it.
Fair enough.
And let's see, any other questions? Hate using all capitals. They're not a corporation. It's not what your birth certificate says.
Yeah, who said that?
Marty Champlin. So let's see. We cut and carve trees, something, turn them to stone, then an apocalypse, maybe. Yeah, that's my take. As a chiropractor, do you ever use sound therapy to heal patients? I have a sonic slider that I'm playing with a bit, and I got to hang out with Eileen McCusick and also Chance Garton. Garton? There's Topher Gardner, Chance Garton. Yeah. And how did Source manifest creation out of nothing? That's a great question. I have an answer for that. It may not be right, but there's we have this concept, the star in the jar. It's known as sonoluminescence, which is basically a spherical shaped container that's glass that's filled with fluid, and then they hit it with sound frequencies that set up an interference pattern that creates cavitations. So that basically the gas that's in the fluid is pulled out of the fluid, and then it expands into bubbles that reach a size, and then they collapse. And at the moment that they collapse, they give off a flash of light, and they tell us that there's also heat there that's equivalent to the heat of the sun. I don't know if there's any truth to that part, but this is happening thousands of times a second, and it looks exactly like what we see with the P900 or P1000 when looking at the stars and the luminaries up there. So the Bible says, first there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So the Bible is suggesting that sound precedes light, and we speak things into existence. We're doing it now. So we're using our vocal cords, right? We can't see the sound waves, but they're there and they're happening. And I think consciousness precedes matter. First starts as an idea, and then that idea is uttered, and then it gives rise to creation.
First, I was afraid. I was petrified. This my internet is really dragging at the moment.
Oh, okay.
For some reason.
Have you?
Really
someone, you look perfect to me. It's very clear, so hopefully it's fine for them.
Awesome.
Have you considered the mythology of that Medusa came from seeing a pulsar? Not so sure about a pulsar, but like a giant plasma event. Absolutely, it could be an anthropomorphization of the plasma apocalypse. We've got Cthulhu. I don't know, CTHULU.
I love the old
right?
gods, yeah.
Which is the tendrils. And so I think that whenever we see these tendrils in the mythologies, that could be code for something like the EMCO or the plasma, the apocalypse, the Phoenix event.
Phoenix event's better. We'll call it that.
Hi to New Woo Kojarabi. Hello. Let's see. It would be very easy to prove this by making a micro world in a lab and expose it with a cataclysm and film it all afterwards with. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. That
would be brilliant.
Have you ever seen that glass jar that this guy made, and he capped it, and it like created an ecosystem? He apparently only added water once in like all the years that it was there, and it just like got more and more incredible and complex. Yeah, what if you hit that thing with a bunch of plasma, like some arc, did some arcing? Like, what would it do to all those structures? Maybe it's an interesting idea.
It is an interesting.
Have you seen the video evidence of Hangman 1128, the giant trees? I've done better. I've traveled with him for a week and gone to all those sites myself. And there's videos of that on my channel. How might the volcanoes be arranged in a ring of fire be explained? What if the ring of fire itself is a giant tree? What if that's the outer ring of a tree stump?
Wow.
Just throwing it out there. Almost all volcanoes are nearby or on the site of an old sulfur mine. Well, volcanoes also spit out sulfur. Are volcanoes tailings? Yeah, there's a guy on Facebook. I can't remember. Oh, Mike Ferreira. He talks about the ancient miners. He's got a lot of great work. He's not on board with the Titans whatsoever. So he and I have kind of the Titans or the trees. He's not on board with either, I believe. But everything to him is some form of mining remains, and that the ancient miners were doing mining on a scale that's a fractal level up from what we see today. And I think that was also happening. But to say that it's all mining, I think again, it's that all is something. You know, stay away from the word all or everything. So anything else? Like, why do you think the giant trees were destroyed by the founders? Another great question. So the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher, which were apocryphal texts that were removed from the Bible mentions the book of Enoch. So it predates the Bible and is mentioned by the Bible. And it talks about God ordering the angels to go to work at the trees. In other words, to cut them down. Why? In preparation for the flood. So God was sending the flood to purge the realm of the corrupted beings, because like today they were messing with, you know, doing all kinds of weird manipulations of the biology, and so God wanted to purge the realm because the fallen angels mated with the daughters of men, and that gave rise to the Titans, who were, I think, both cannibalistic, but were also devouring everything in the realm. So in order to keep them from being able to flee the flood, God had the angels take down the trees. That's not my words. That's in the book of Enoch, and I think Jasher mentions it as well.
Somebody asking for Hangman's channel there. I don't know if my usual moderator, Hippie, is not in the house.
Easy to find. Hangman 1128, no space between the number and the word.
Yeah.
If a giant tree miles wide incinerated, say that again.
Angela Baby Carson's asking, is God Satan? A common question lately.
Oh man, I don't know. There's all kinds of questions.
I
call it the is God a dick theory. Mark Devlin's done like 26-part series on his thoughts about that, which I recommend. There's some very interesting ideas in there, and I think Howdy Mikowski as well. If a giant tree miles wide was incinerated, could it leave a molten stump, otherwise known as volcanoes? Yeah, that's what I was hinting at before. Mud Fossil University, we've talked about several times. If the trees got cut down, does that mean there's a chance that we can physically climb up to the heavens above the water? Maybe if you get those beans that Jack bought, you could plant them and climb up. Hangman has a YouTube channel that is epic. Yeah, so okay, I got through those. Let me just show you. You want to go a bit longer?
Yeah. I'm just confused. I got this guy that's in my chat here, but he's not appearing on my chat feed on the live event, and he's got a moderating spanner thing, even though I've never seen him before in my life. He's had 3 separate names so far trolling me. Yeah, he's not. I don't know how he's in my internal workings, and yet he's not being presented on the live chat feed. I'm really confused about that, but I'll just go with it. Keep an eye on it, because that's dodgy goings on, that is, for YouTube. Very strange.
So, Shepu, you got any questions? We've covered a lot of topics today.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
Trees cannot be created, so all trees come from previous ones. From a seed to a tree, but the seeds could be in the mud, and then that would sprout the new trees.
Well, also,
I mean,
do we live in a created realm or in a random chance particles
Oh no,
bouncing around,
haphazard universe. No,
haphazard evolutionary realm?
I've
think
been here too long.
microevolution
That's wrong.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, mathematically, it makes no sense. So let's see here. All right, I've got. Okay, let me. I'll share my screen again here.
Okay.
And entire screen.
Let me take a few more questions later.
Yeah, if you see any that pop up, throw them in. There's no agenda at this point. I just want to kind of cover some different stuff. So here's some of the melted brick stuff. I think some of these, you showed that one. So again, the mortar doesn't maintain the lines between the red and the white. It goes away. This is dripping from the ceiling.
There it is. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. You'll see that.
You can see the red brick underneath. So clearly the dark stuff used to look like that. Dripping from the ceiling. And here you can see, now this almost looks like tree, but it's obviously brick because, the grain is going to do the same, or the rows are going to do the same thing. But here you can see it. It's clearly melting on the right.
What's that? Sewer system.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many interesting places. So melted building, or is this more like something biological that, started to just ooze? I've seen, people talk about this sort of a thing, and they're trying to claim that this became the left became the right, or it just looks like two structures that are butting up against each other.
Yeah, it melded together. Yeah.
Yeah. And now this is kind of interesting, because this is clearly brick here, right? You can see that. And so, they'll see things like this, and I can't explain this. It's interesting.
It looks very like there's courses of bricks in there, doesn't it? And below.
Let's see. I'm just going to zoom through. That's an interesting one. The whole thing looks like it just sank into the earth. Maybe the foundation wasn't great. This is looking at Mount St. Helens from above. So you can see Mount St. Helens is a tiny volcano, right? Compared to, say, Mount Shasta or one of these giant ones. So when that blew, it dropped a huge amounts of ash all over the Pacific Northwest. And we got those pyroclastic flows and the petrified trees and, 30-foot layers of lahar, creating sedimentary layering. This is that site from another angle. So that whole section there blew its top.
Wow.
So yeah, and then obviously this melted. Or did it melt, or did it just get surrounded by something that was flowing and then it hardened? I think that's more likely, actually. Because if it was all melt, why is this in such great condition?
Yeah.
That does, so this is more of a flow.
Yeah, I would go with that. Ooh.
The Lichtenberg figures.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, this isn't that main temple that we were discussing, but it's the same idea.
That's in Ethiopia.
Right. So they're claiming that this has been carved out of stone, and I reject that notion. I think that it was something soft, and that they removed all that other material. But it wasn't. I think that's like granite, which is incredibly hard stone.
Yeah.
So this stuff makes a lot more sense, when you showed images like this.
Yeah.
But when you think of it as soft to begin with. Like even here, is this all melt? Did it melt first and then they carve these structures away, or did they carve into this really hard material to create the structure? And if so,
how would they have got up there to carve it? fly
Yeah.
around. You know, just this is high elevation. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and then you know, again, here, let me show. We could just go to Petra here.
Okay.
Oh wait. Okay, I'll come back to Madagascar. I wanted to talk about that, but Petra, Jordan.
No, I never knew too much about Madagascar.
Right. So if we just zoom out and look at Petra, you know, through Titan tree eyes, you can see that it could definitely match up with sandstone, right?
Sure.
And I'm gonna show a bunch of actual organic tree in a second, and then the sandstone sites. But that's Petra, and then you know it's in these canyons that they've carved these structures, and it just has a very, just like Red Rock in Colorado, it has a very tree-like look to it. So that's Petra, and then I showed all the images from the inside of Petra, which definitely look like tree. Take a look at this. We go to Madagascar. There are sites in Africa as well, but they're all covered with vegetation and green, so you can't really make it out. But in Madagascar, you've got a number of what they would call, you know, volcanic cones or domes or whatever they call them. And when you zoom in on these things, so if that was former tree and there was, you know, water still coming up through the channels, you would kind of expect it to be fertile, and it appears to be very fertile. Oh, yeah. And then when you look at, I think it's this side here, and you get down in.
Whoa, look at that. Wow. Yeah. And
you can see the original color of the trees here. The grain is very well preserved. So those sites are all over Madagascar, and that looks extremely tree trunky to me.
Yeah.
How about you?
Wow.
So is it clear, or am I moving too fast?
No, man, it's really working well.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, you know, again, not proof in and of itself, but just another very, very compelling data point. And so there's a ton of these on the island of Madagascar. There's like at least a dozen I've found. And so, you know, this was former forest. Oh, here's another interesting idea that we didn't talk about. So big trees, right? They're sucking up water.
Yeah.
Right. And they're above the ground. How much water would the tree contain?
Whew. A lot.
A lot of water, right?
Yeah.
So
it's thousands, hundreds of thousands of gallons then.
So if those trees were all over the realm and you cut them down, you're going to be exposing all that pressurized water that's in the channels, right? So that's going to flow out now. And then also, whatever water was in the tree is going to be returned to the oceans. So if we look at the oceans of the world, all of the light blue is shallow. And even in the mainstream narrative, they're saying that the ocean levels rose by something like 400 feet. And they're finding all kinds of ruins underwater off the coasts of a lot of different places. So, you know, what if, you know, the flood also involved the trees being taken down, not just the waters above and the waters below. And when you look at Mother Shipton's Cave and Lake Natron and these high mineral content waters, they definitely seem to be pretty effective at the whole petrification thing, right?
Wow.
So
I like it.
Let's see here. Yeah, I showed that one already. Okay, so let's just do a little crash course in trees themselves, like everyday trees. Where to go? I just opened it. Come on. There. Okay. So if you just look at the complexity of what is going on here and all the different directions that this grain is going, you know, and this is cut down, they're going to tell us, if this was gigantic, they're going to tell us this is sedimentary layering and it's curving because of heat processes and tectonic activity has exposed it. That would be the official explanation. I saw this today and I was just like, wow, kind of looks like some of these sites that we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
with the layering and
really,
you know,
does.
like you could almost imagine some of those photos we were just looking at of the different dwellings carved into something like this.
Oh, crazy.
So wood doesn't just grow vertically. When it falls down and the tree breaks down, you get these horizontal lines. So these are cleavage points, and you see how it's totally flat there. You're going to see that on a grand scale in a moment. And as the tree breaks down, obviously the inner portion is softer. You have the hardwood, the softwood. The very central portion is called the pith. This stuff just breaks down to the forest floor. And again, you can see how it does that. It does it very consistently when it's breaking down. So a little chunk like this would be 100 feet in size, in like the Black Hills.
Okay.
And it has all of the micro layering. Get these wild structures. I'm not sure if this is man-made, if they wove it as it was growing, or if it just grew that way. There's, you know, how much does this look like some of those stumps that we that we looked at?
Oh, I've seen these lattice work ones. Yeah,
and so and then that central portion breaks down. So if you do have radioactive materials that are deep in the earth that are formed because of whatever destroyed the tree, then you know, you would get that volcanic activity. This is a petrified tree, so keeps all of its grain and you know, the curves and everything is there that you see in the live ones. And I'm just showing these to give examples of just how complex the tree's grain can be, and there's just a tremendous variety of different kinds of tree also. You know, so if this was petrified and gigantic, we'd be looking at that geological structure going, how the hell did that happen? And then the geologists would come along and give some far-fetched explanation. So this is seen on Google Earth, and it's just an interesting correlation to wood knots. And again, look at the knots and see how they form. They're breaking down in a pie shape. This guy looks like he's laughing.
Amazing.
All kinds of different colors to the trees. Yeah, that's rainbow eucalyptus, I think.
What? That's crazy.
This has to be man-made.
I know, I've seen them before. Them lattice work ones. I think they grow that, they plant that way and they grow that way. I'm sure I've seen examples before. I thought the same.
This is a great banyan tree in India. I don't know if I think the one in Maui was the biggest in the world. Do you know if it burned down? I got to see that tree once and it was absolutely incredible. It covered acres, one tree, and it comes out and then it shoots down and it makes other trunks. So you could have one huge central location and then lots of smaller areas like what I just showed in Madagascar. And again,
sorry. I was just saying, I noticed today I went out to the park, all the indigenous trees in Britain who are not up to desert heat are turning brown and dying. And a couple of weeks ago, apparently the oldest tree in Britain died. They're trying to say that, because it's hotter than it ever has been before.
Global warming, don't you know?
So I think they've probably done something to that. But yeah, but the indigenous, sort of, a lot of the trees are just browning off and not looking good at all at the moment. Because of the
Maui banyan survived. That's good to know. Oh, how wonderful.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So again, a knot, it's breaking down. you know, imagine it petrifying now in this point and all the different kinds of structures you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so this is Hangman pointing at the thing, and he's showing that the exact same thing. You can see the cleavage line.
Yeah.
You can see all the grain. And if you go on the north side, it still has this color. And then he's actually got a video that went viral because it was shared by somebody on X, and it got millions of views. And he goes up to a structure like this, pulls off a portion, and it's still, you can see the grain has, like, the grain inside hasn't fully petrified. It's amazing. So that's just a crash course in the grain of trees and all their different manifestations. This is olive. Got a 1,000-year-old olive tree here in Javia that is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And the stuff the olive trees do is far out. You get trunks with smaller trunks. And this is the image that I really wanted to show. So a lot of people show sites like Bryce Canyon, and they're claiming that that's all structures that have melted. And I reject it, because it's clearly tree. You've got all the micro layering and grain present at Bryce Canyon. And this is just a stump that someone cut down, and then this portion broke off, and you can see
looks like a city skyline.
Spires. It looks like a cityscape, right?
It does.
So, yeah.
Wow.
This is petrified tree, and again, you can see those cleavage lines and all the little pieces here. So, you know, these are what remain, unfortunately, and the rings of the stumps. And you see the complexity of even just a tiny little piece of wood like this, and then, you know, so that's the crash course in wood. Now let's look at the sites that I toured with Hangman. Let's see. I thought I had the folder open. Hangman. Oh, let's see. Okay, best tree examples. Here we go. Come on. Can do it. All right. I'm just going to fly through these and pause when I see something that's really. So this is a quartz seam. These are the kinds of things that they'd go into to find the gold and the silver. Red rock I've shown. So sandstone. You got these layers and then a line. You'll have diagonals. You'll have all kinds of straight lines, curved lines. Trees do this, but lava does not. And if this is former building, where's the sign of the building? That's the thing, is they go to these structures like in Petra, you know, that have doors and temples carved into them. But maybe the tree fell down. They revered the mother trees, right? That was their. It was giving them everything, just like in Avatar. And, you know, if they're not living any longer, then they're gonna carve into them in order to continue to dwell in the trees. And I think that's what's happened, like all over the UK with those sites that we were mentioning before.
I was wondering if the stone circles all over Britain are putting the footprint of where there was once a giant tree, because just coincidentally they're circular. And they're on that energy point, you know, using the energy of the great tree, because God, the energy of a great tree, can't even imagine.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm of the mind that probably all the star citadels, you know, because they put them all where there's great water, like Rome, all these different famous cities that have the 7 hills, you know,
the pyramids and on top of what look like mesas.
I've shown those. There's these. They're just drawings. They're not photographs, but the Giza Plateau before the Sahara Desert was there. And there's pyramids on top of what appear to be tree stumps. And that's really interesting, because if you think about this structure that's on the screen right now, that's going to break down to sand. you can see the sand below. That's why they call it sandstone, right? And then what do we do with sand? If we melt it, it becomes glass, right?
Glass.
There's your vitrification.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had these giant trees everywhere, they fell down, they petrified, or were in the process of breaking down through just natural decay and erosion. And then the floods come, turns it into sandstone, and that breaks down even further. Then you could get something like the Sahara Desert.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this is all building, like how do you explain this structure? And I've yet I stopped watching the Meltology stuff because it was just so frustrating, because there were all these grandiose claims being made, but they weren't using logic and common sense. And I want to hear, if anyone knows of somebody who can explain how something like this could be former building, I'd like to hear the explanation, because
looks more fleshy than built.
Yeah, that's why I coined the term biogeology, right? Is it's I don't know what it is. I think it's tree, but ultimately I'm assuming that it was once biology of some form or another. And so these are some of the the sandstone examples, and then when you go to these are far out. Again, this could be easily explained with some kind of biology breaking down, and there's just all these waves and
shrooms
and the color.
Wow! Oh my God!
So
mental.
So that is the sandstone. Now we can look at. I was talking about knots before.
Mm-hmm.
So Roger would say, if he found this petrified and it was gigantic, he'd claim it was a vagina.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about the knots, and you'll see it here in one of these pictures, is, and I understand, the idea, because it does have that. I
can see where he's going with that.
Yeah. Anatomical look to it. Yeah. So this, but see how it can have this diamond shape and like a seam through here. I've got a better example of that. Like here, see this seam?
Yeah.
So he's claiming that is proof that, because that's how the vagina works. You've got this circular muscles, and then it attaches and it connects in that line.
Yeah.
So. If you zoomed in and that was petrified, you can imagine what he'd be thinking about that one.
These trees are quite sexy. To have or to have not. This is the question.
Oh, come on, you're being naughty.
No, come on. What are you doing? Oh, that's terrible, that image.
Couldn't resist. Yeah, so there's this is a famous image that's gone around a lot. Again, that it's like here's the tree back here. Like it's not far-fetched, the idea.
Shit.
unless you just are accepting a paradigm that says that it's not possible. So those are the roots.
Wow.
Close those, close that, and let me go through just a couple more folders here. The marble caves is another one. This is just another data point, right? The marble caves and the salt mines. You've got the concentric rings. These are in Patagonia. I thought I had a bunch of photos there. I don't.
Okay.
It's in my presentation though. Here, let me show that instead.
Wow, it's crazy. That is.
PowerPoint. Here we go. Let's see, the marble caves. Where is that? I was talking about a site here. This is one I'd like to explore, because those caves, I think the caves are key. Because if the cave is in the right place and you go in and it's got anatomical features, then you start getting a longer and longer list of anatomical correlations, which is what I did with Montgo. It all started with seeing these in a video by J-Dreamers, showing this site in Iceland, which I no longer believe is elephant, because when you look at it from every other angle, it doesn't. But this is in Maui, And you can look at that from any angle, and it totally looks like an elephant lying on its side and the trunk extended. So that was the penny drop for me, that it got me thinking about Mont Go. And there's Devil's Tower. I was looking for, what was it I was looking for? Oh, here's, you mentioned the eye being,
oh yeah, there
being
winking.
edited, right? So
Nuts.
this is how it looks now. And it didn't look like that for the first 2 years I was doing this, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot because I'd been using Google Earth as a drone. And so I had all this great footage that I was using in my videos, showing it from all these different angles.
That's mental.
And then, whoops. And then one day I was in an interview and this happened. And it's still like that. And when you zoom in close, it opens. It's
that's
just
crazy.
hilarious.
They did that. Just winking at you.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Okay,
Exactly.
so here is some of the amazing locations that I toured with Hangman. Oh, and this one is amazing. Watch. You can see the grain when the outer oxidized portion is removed. You can see all the micro layering. So this is the sap. You can see all the tree grain.
Wow. Oh, it looks still like wood. It's wood in there.
Yeah, it's all stone. Everything you're seeing here is stone. In
Wow,
fact, there were a
that's
lot of times where I was
immense.
looking at the ground and I couldn't tell if something was wood or stone until I picked it up.
Wow. Holy shit.
So this is exactly what I was showing with the smaller trees, right? The non-petrified smaller trees, doing all the exact same stuff.
Pretty persuasive, this, isn't it? Wow.
And these are the salt mines of Romania and Poland.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're crazy big, aren't they? Inside.
Yep. And these are salt mountains, and that is the Patagonia caves. And this is what I was saying again. This is made out of marble, and look at the concentric ring structure. How is this happening in
Geology? That's just crazy.
sedimentary layering and tectonic activity?
Yeah, whatever.
That one is unreal right there.
Whew.
And here's the salt mines. And funny how it looks exactly like the trees I was just showing.
So it does. Yeah, it'd be an interesting place to visit, that would.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I thought about it years ago. It's like cathedral size. Well, there, it's just crazy. Whew.
That one could be AI. It's got a little kind of a fake vibe to it, but everything that is in my presentations is, I've had it for years, long before all the AI stuff started to come out.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same, Mike. Yeah.
Yes. So those were the things that I was going to show from the
Oh, it's fantastic stuff. Thanks. Really
presentation. Let me just see if there's any last little bits. Obsidian, pith, road cuts is another one. Let's see. Wherever they've cut away to make roads.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot that looks like tree. That's not a road cut, but
should come up. There you are.
That so so this could have been a branch, right? And they just cut right through it.
Wow. I never thought of that. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brain splat, all this stuff. When you like, if
well,
you
I'm just going to be going down the road looking. Oh my God, is that a tree sticking through? Wow.
These are just examples of, I can't remember what they call these kinds of formations, but yeah, looks like tree to me.
Yeah.
That's pretty funky.
Oh yeah. Very knotty.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, I think the answer, as I said before, is E, all of the above. There's no, one last thing. The sandstone dwellings. I wanted to show these. So this is Come on. You can do it. There we go. So these are, a lot of these are sites in like Kinver in the UK.
Okay, sorry, I'm just laughing at people going wow, wow, wow in the chat. I'm going to call an wambulance for you, Shipper.
A wambulance.
Yeah, people will cry. Quite.
So
Don't quite.
in I can't remember where in the US, it's like Wyoming, I think. They've got these famous, might be Arizona, they've got these famous mesa dwellings.
Yeah.
I went to the one at the Garden of the Gods, which is clearly tree. And that
they have them in Sedona as well, in the Anastasi settlement.
Probably.
Well. Yeah.
So here's my take on this. This is all obviously, you know, built recently. Wow. I think that this is one layer, and you know how we have the banding? Usually one of the two bands is softer than the other. So harder stone, softer. And this is where they're carving into. And some of these dwellings apparently connect to tunnels, and they go very, very deep. Here we're back in the UK. Let's see, we've seen that. Okay, this is what I was saying before with Petra. So to me, everything about this looks tree, and then this is a cleavage point, and then they've carved into that. That's my take on it. While it was wood.
Holy shit, yeah.
And then back to the UK. And this is kind of what I was talking about before, where you have these, you know, it curves like this, but inside the structures, there's people have carved, and all that grain is still there, but it's not eroded.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then, you know, and then I start to look at all this. I'm like, oh man, what, you know, what's what? And I just kind of get lost and hypothesize.
Well, at least the field is opening with different ideas of what's going on. This is what I dig.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Like everything
sure
is new, and you know, we have to try and figure out, you know, what's what. Where is it StreamYard? Oh, I need to stop.
Get the mode synapses working. Yeah.
Stop sharing. There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
So
super stoked.
Hey, Samuel.
Wow.
So were there any questions from the Meltology guy?
Any questions before we pack this up for the night? We've been going a couple of hours. We still got 445 in my chat here. Thank you all for being here on this Tuesday. This has been a very epic show, by the way, Mike. I knew it was going to be lit. So thanks. That was.
Well, we've had so much fun. We've crossed paths now a few times, and it's always been incredible conversations. So.
Oh yeah, and when we all hang out together, we get in a lot of mischief. Can't we? Get the dance floor.
Okay, so Shepu is saying you make no sense to me, and I'm not sure if he's referring to me or not. And if he does, I could care less what he thinks at this point. If that's not enough info to get you thinking in a little broader terms. Tree knots, twisted root growth. I have tree root with stones throughout the wood. Okay.
Well, I think that was really, really, you know, quite persuasive to think, you know, both. I think Meltology is a thing, the giant trees, but we can't just call everything one or everything the other. I think it's a fair point, Mike. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, as a great American statesman once said, Rodney King, can't we all just get along?
And let it be.
Let it be.
You do you, boo.
That's the Silmarillion somebody's asking about. I have it. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard were gemstones that create the light of the. I think not all. I don't like that word, but I think many of the gemstones are coming from the trees. Absolutely. If you just look up minerals on Wikipedia, and you scroll through the images of all of the different manifestations of geology in the mineral kingdom, and it is utterly mind-blowing. And I think a lot of that is coming from the tree.
It's like the globe people. They're really unpleasant too.
You never showed and proven anything.
Yeah, see, that is completely wrong, because I'm just, intellectually thinking, I think that was really persuasive. And that attitude of swearing,
I wouldn't expect you to agree with anything or even a lot, but that statement suggests to me that you are not.
It does,
bright.
because the person above you thinks exactly what I think. Fascinating. My mind is lit up.
Yeah.
So
and he made a comment about me not responding to a comment that he wrote some time ago on my channel, probably because I got the impression that you weren't a very intelligent or open-minded person. So I didn't waste my time on you. I've already wasted too much time on you. So
I know. Got the attention.
Enough with Shepu.
Okay. That sounds really good. Troglodyte dwellings, says Vanessa. So anybody in questions, capital letters, and then we'll be our ear for today. Ask Steve when you see him, have a word with him, to come over and present, talking about what he was talking about in Dundee. I'm sure that'll get a lot of debate going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. His Apocalypse Definitely. Infinity.
Yes.
He's got 2 parts of a 3-part series. Watch that on Spacebusters. That is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing information, and I challenge.
It's a bit of a shift in the old paradigm, isn't it, from the old way of thinking as well, which is I like.
It's about as big a shift as it gets. Yeah.
No shit, it is. So yeah. And also Steve Young as well, right? I'll try and get him over. I've asked him, because Ether is right up our street. This is what we do on Flat Earth British. And what he presented, I was like, yeah. It's just, so
yeah, you blew my mind years ago with like the Vajras and I'm like, God, like the Vedic traditions, the Hindu cosmologies, they're talking about these incredible weapons that would do what? A plasma apocalypse.
Yeah, man. Well, they tell you anyway in the Bhagavad Gita, because they got like the Vimanas and they got the Vamastras, which apparently they say like a nuclear weapons, but they vitrify everything they touch, which is probably what happened to the Indus Valley civilization, because that place got way torched or fried, from what I've seen. Red salt and giant connection. What's your take? Red salt and giants connection. I haven't got a clue.
Well, it could be tree, it could be Titan. A lot of people are like, oh my God, are we eating the flesh of Titans when we're having Himalayan salt?
What are they thinking? Red blood corpuscles or crystallized? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have high mineral content waters, really salty, that are infusing themselves into the wood, that could turn into salts and Himalayan salt.
Yeah. So Joy's extending her thanking you for being here, as I am myself. A really nice guy, Marticus. Well, just talking to me. So everyone appreciates you being here. I do myself, Mike, and bringing all of that awesome, juicy stuff to my channel. It was absolutely amazing. I'll have to do this again sometime later.
Yeah, and someone says tree sap is good for heavy metal extraction from the body. You've got what's it called? Andrew Kaufman is always talking about it as a spirit gum. What's it? I've forgotten the other word. You can use it for cleaning out the body. It'll come to me in a moment. Somebody will post it in the chat. DMSO comes from tree as well. There's a lot of medicine comes from tree. Oh, there he is.
There is Steve. I am watching, but you guys are killing it, so you need to jump on at some time. You will come in next time. You are more than welcome, my friend. More than welcome. We can get up to some mischief online.
I want to see that one.
Yeah, detoxing. Yeah, I've been purging myself, but I go through natural purges myself, and my system just says, and just naturally can't be bothered eating much. Just everything's limited. So I've been going through one of them, and it makes me feel well. I feel good. So there's that. Feel good and groovy, and I've really enjoyed that. So thank you, Mike. That was flipping awesome. You're an awesome
Thank you.
chap. For everyone, get over to Mike's channel. Definitely subscribe and check that book out. Honest to God, I can't even.
It is. You're halfway in. How is it? Is it well written?
It is what, because I'm like, I got a good insight into who you are now. See, Mike, it's like, because it's like you, and I know you now. So like when I'm reading that, I'm like,
People have said when they read it, they hear my voice.
I hear your voice. It is exactly. I hear your voice. It is you.
Yeah.
So
it's a
really
crazy story, and it's definitely worthy of a movie.
Though, but I know because it's all documented.
Yeah, it's one of those truth is stranger than fiction things. It was so bizarre, and I have all the evidence for the stuff that I'm talking about in the book as well, and and it's like, I didn't have to what do you say, embellish, because the story in and of itself was just so crazy.
You signed
and
it.
And Gary McKinnon wrote the foreword.
Yeah, he's from here in Newport, just down the road.
Yeah,
Gary,
great guy. I've got a conversation with him on my channel. Check that out, you'll love it.
Yeah, did you talk about the aliens at all?
It's called Hackers from Heaven.
Hackers from Heaven. You see, you got on here when you signed it for me, from one reality hacker to another. Thank you for all you do. Oh, thanks, Mike. Yes, we are reality hackers.
And put September on your calendar. The Guru Gathering last year. There were many people who said it was like the most exciting, fun weekend of their lives. So it's going to be a great event, and really reasonably priced. Like, people spend more than 3 times more to go to a Taylor Swift concert,
Yeah, I'll go on the piss in town, which is really, what people spend hundreds of pounds
or a dinner in a restaurant that's gone the next day. So you'll have memories that last a lifetime, I guarantee it. And I think it's gonna be just so good. And then there's a wraparound event that Dave Manel and Andrea are doing. That's, I think, 2 days before and 2 days after. They've rented a big villa. And it's going to be acoustic music, and just
I will be there,
and partying with the most amazing people you ever hung out with.
Oh, we're party animals. Nobody parties better than us. True for guys, you know that. True for girls and guys. We are absolutely amazing at it. But yeah, I'm going to go to David's. Andrea's food is out of this world, so I'm hoping they're going to.
It is, yeah. Her food is amazing. So I mean, just the price. The food is worth the price alone for that event.
Oh my God, that part of the event. It's like Michelin star quality. It was absolutely beautiful. I know. So yeah, thank you everybody. That's been an awesome hangout tonight, and plenty of you. It's 2.5 hours. That's plenty for us, isn't it, Mike?
And thank you to everyone on my channel as well. I'm sorry I've been absent for months on end. I'll be back with a stream of my own soon, and I just had to kind of ground myself in the real world, and I've had a lot of journeys. So when I come back from those, it takes time to get back on track and work and everything. So yeah, keep hacking, everybody.
Yeah, man.
Love you.
Stay epic, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here and being so epic today for this Tuesday live show. So we hopefully do some more very soon, Mike. Yeah, hook up again.
Yes, definitely.
In the future. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, everybody. Much love to you all. And I will see you very, very soon. Thank you.
Ciao.